Welcome to Marketer's Alchemy, where we pull back the curtain on the intricate world of data-driven marketing. On this show, we delve into the convergence of marketing as an art form and data as a scientific foundation, unveiling the secrets to turning raw data into marketing gold. I'm your host, Catherine Turnoff, Senior Product Manager at Deluxe. Join us as we dive into real-life case studies and give you a front row seat to industry pioneers and visionaries. Hi, and welcome to Marketer's Alchemy, turning data into gold. I'm Catherine Turnoff, and I'm here with Alec Hanson, Chief Marketing Officer at loanDepot. Alec is a brand evangelist for loanDepot, as well as a content creator for lenders. Between books, podcasts, and the YouTube series, Alec teaches loan officers how to connect with their audience in the modern era of the internet. Welcome, Alec.
Thanks. It's great to be here, Catherine.
Yeah, glad to have you. So before we jump into a data discussion, I really have to ask, you have such a great sense of humor in all of your videos. Where did it come from?
I think from a personal perspective, it's been a journey of self-discovery for the last, 42 years. And I think some of that is just letting parts of your personality out that normally you might hide for fear of judgment or other things like that coming at you. So I think it's just a natural expression of just, life's better when you're laughing, in my opinion.
Totally agree. Got it. Yeah. So we're just going to try to carry that through for the rest of the show.
Perfect.
So if we want to shift gears, you worked at loanDepot for over 13 years now. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and what it took for you to become CMO?
Yeah. I fell into the mortgage industry because I asked my dad for a job when I was in college. And that's kind of how most people find themselves in the mortgage industry. You don't go to college and graduate and say, I'm going to go do mortgages. But as I found myself in this industry for the last 22 years, I spent a lot of it on the sales side, running large organizations in the distributed retail model, which is kind of like the referral-based, boots in the streets kind of sales model. And sales and marketing, though, have always been two sides of the same coin, in my opinion. They're very similar. They complement each other. They can blend. I think they're blending more and more these days into kind of a similar thing. And six years ago, I realized that as a leader, some of the marketing strategies that I had developed and that made me a good coach and mentor weren't as relevant as some of the emerging marketing stuff that was happening around us, like social media, video, digital, all this brand new territory. And so I decided to try to figure it out and started to become a practitioner in my own way, building my own brand, putting out my own content, trying to understand these different mediums like podcasting and all these platforms. And so I joke that I became the CMO because I put videos on the internet. But there's some truth to that, where all of a sudden, our CEO taps me and calls me in and says, we'd like to consider you coming over here from the sales side and being our CMO. And I was a little bit like, what do you mean? So I feel like a little bit of a unicorn in the space because I have such a sales background. But I'm also very passionate about marketing, and I think that makes me an interesting person in the space.
Definitely. So you just kind of jumped in, and then this is where it took you. That's pretty amazing.
Pretty much.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into our first segment, Alchemy Unveiled, Mixing Marketing Potions. So what data do you look at every day? Like, what are you really dealing with mostly?
Yeah, I love that question. Coming from such a sales background, I always look at our metrics. I'm always looking at how we're performing, who's performing in what capacity, where our weaknesses are, what's happening. And then from there, it drives a lot of our marketing decisions. I mean, obviously, I'm looking at our marketing results on a daily basis, whether they're social or lead aggregation or wherever we're putting our efforts. But you can't make decisions without clear analysis and data access. Or, I mean, you can. I just don't recommend it.
They're not great, right?
But I really have a natural tendency, and I think this is a strength, to look at our sales results first and then back that through to what our marketing is delivering.
Have you always been so connected to data-driven results? Like, is this something that has evolved over time, or is it something that you kind of always knew the value of data?
It's definitely deepened. I think that you always look at the numbers. You always have to know your numbers, and even great salespeople would tell you have to know your numbers. But then, as you get into the more nuance with marketing, there's more opportunity to go deeper. And so I would just say that it's evolved over time and gotten richer.
Yeah, makes sense. What is something about the data that you look at that you have that people that might be a surprise to some people, right? Maybe some metrics that you use that others aren't using.
I don't know if it'd be a surprise. I think it feels kind of obvious. But like when we're looking, there's an old saying, or I don't know if it's an old saying, but there's a saying that if your marketing's good, sales is easy. And so, when I'm talking about looking at sales data and I'm looking at applications and I'm getting down at the street level, talking to our sales force and understanding, is this easy, hard? What's coming at you that's making this hard? And then kind of working backwards into our strategy. I don't think I'm the first person to ever do that, but I think it's very helpful to kind of start at the ground level of what the salespeople are dealing with day in, day out, and looking at conversion and looking at, call transfers and looking at all the data there to allow us to kind of step up into our strategies.
Got it. So how do you organize and process all of this consumer data so that it's something
People.
that's people? Okay.
I have very smart people around me. So
Got it.
consolidating data across all of our areas from, conversion and product that we're moving and talking to customers about up through our marketing strategy, it involves a lot of sophistication and a lot of people that are required to come in and analyze and collate and bring together the data and then stare at it and try to make sense of it to make smart decisions. And so, not to be simplistic, but like the better your data people are, the better decisions you're going to make.
Yeah, for sure. No, it makes sense. So if you're using all this data, how does it help you reach your customers? Like how is this really making a difference in some of the campaigns you're running?
Well, we can get really targeted, first of all. So we
Hmm.
can decide we can use the data to understand who's doing what in our marketplace and then deliver relevant marketing to those cohorts. And so that's kind of a baseline part of it all. But secondarily, we can start to understand what the needs of our customers are and then start to create content and marketing that starts to fix those needs at the top of the funnel and attract in the customer base at a greater velocity. So, it's a multi-pronged approach here, but when you look at it like that, you can really start to understand, is the marketing I'm doing supporting the entire cycle down to what the needs of the salespeople are? And when you combine it all up, you can see it a lot clearer.
Got it. That makes sense. So if we think about AI, huge topic now, it
So
sounds like we
huge.
kind of touched on it a little before, right? With some of that personalization and how you're really marketing directly to people. How has AI helped you reach your customers, or has it? Like, how are you using it today?
Yeah, so we're in lending is heavily regulated. There's licensing requirements. There's a lot of regulation, and that's good and bad. And so on the bad side of it, it really stifles innovation because you cannot step quickly into certain things that might be cutting edge, and you have to kind of you become a little bit of a laggard in there. But like we're using AI to assist in unsticking our salespeople from a copy perspective and a content creative perspective. We're using them to write copy and edit copy and then leveraging that to kind of build our efficiencies. We've started integrating AI into our customer service and like chatbot functions, just to try to find scale and efficiency in those areas, because customers, they want to interact the way they want to interact, and you got to provide tools in front of them to do that. But it's been interesting. So, some people have loved that kind of concept, and some people have been like, "I'm not talking to a robot." No, like literally, no joke. Like, I will not talk to AI. I don't trust it. And I was like, "Oh, interesting." So it's going to continue to make huge inroads in our business, specifically in our fulfillment process of a loan. Getting a loan done is very technical and paper-centric still and human-centric still. So it's going to make huge inroads there, but we're just not there yet.
For sure. Do you have any other best practices? I know AI helps with the cost effectiveness, right? Any
Oh,
other
yeah.
practices around data, right? If you have all this data and all these people, that can get pretty expensive for clients to kind of manage themselves. Do you have any kind of practices around keeping it more cost effective and still being impactful?
Yeah, I think we're just in the early innings of that still, trying to figure it out with what we're facing with regulation and the world around us. It's gonna make a dramatic impact and it's gonna build huge efficiencies, but I just don't think we're seeing it yet in lending.
Yeah, we've seen it too. Like the regulations are kind of all over the place. I've noticed as well.
Totally.
So it can be hard, right, for marketers to figure out what's allowed, what's a gray area, what's not allowed.
Hmm.
So most people only buy a house once in their lifetime.
Yeah.
So everyone wants their attention. How do you help get consumers' attention for that such an important decision?
Well, so it's interesting. There's another kind of metric we have been uncovering over the years, which is our customers typically don't need us except for once every 5 to 7 years. And so while people will maybe buy one house in their lifetime, we're finding that the modern consumer is actually refinancing, taking cash out, leveraging HELOC products, or moving in that 5 to 7 year window. So that's still a gigantic window. Like that's not like buying toilet paper where you need it every month and you just get routinely in it. Like it's hard. And so, but leveraging data and some of these tools to allow us to be a little more predictive, leveraging data with strategic partners that help us understand activities that are happening in real time, allow us to deliver marketing at very strategic moments, to pull their attention back. Because candidly, to try to stay around for somebody for 5 to 7 years when they don't need you, you become white noise. Even if you're doing everything really well and your salespeople are calling and doing annual check-ins, or there's email drip campaigns and all those things around them, it's like, I still don't need you. So maybe stop bothering me. And so it is very, very difficult, which is why statistically a lot of people end up leveraging other lenders for their next transactions versus the one they use the first time, because it can be so transactional. So it's a massive opportunity, and it's a hard hill to climb.
Any tips for helping to know when that sweet spot is for customers, right? Like when do you know when to be in front of them? Are there indicators in your data that can help you guess when the right time is?
Yeah, and so it varies, but we have some early indicators with some strategic data partnerships where we can start to understand some predictive behavior. We can see people who are like for example, and this starts to feel really creepy, but like we can choose to understand if people are going to Home Depot or Lowe's every weekend. And if they start going to these, Home Depots and Lowe's every weekend, maybe they're doing some work on their home.
Sure.
And if they're doing work on their home, maybe they need some financing solutions like an equity line or some cash out to maybe help with some renovations. And they just haven't explored that yet. And they were choosing to like rack up credit card debt instead. And so we can start to find people who are going to open houses and who are kind of starting to tour things, maybe not in their neighborhood, but maybe in like 3 neighborhoods over, which is a very big tell. Then we get more closer to the transaction. We get information about if they're out there shopping for mortgages. We can take in data like that, and then kind of wake ourselves up to, oh, they're already out there. We probably are behind now. We should probably go reintroduce ourselves. If they list their house for sale, we have data sources that can give us. So we have indicators that can kind of point us in the right way to re-engage the customer and hopefully remind them that we're still here if they've forgotten us from last time.
Got it. So all about using those different data pieces, bringing it together to kind of create a 360-degree picture of the client, right? That's what I'm kind of imagining. Like
100% right. 100%
yeah,
right.
I wouldn't have thought going to Home Depot would be a tip-off, right? Or it's good to know that you're using it, the MLS, like the open houses. I always go in my own neighborhood. So,
of course,
because you want to know, like, what is your neighbor's house?
Absolutely. You want to creep on the neighbor? That's no problem. Yeah, 100%.
So good. It's when I get out of my neighborhood that's interesting to you. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
What are ways that you ensure a high quality of data so that you can really find your marketing gold?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a process, right? That's just an excellence that you gain over time as you get better and better at these activities, and you make some mistakes and you find ways to better enhance and pull in other data sources to kind of complement what you're looking at and layering that in to make better decisions. So it's a process. And a lot of that is like exploring our existing and potentially new vendors, using our own data sources, our own logic, and it's an exercise in excellence. It takes time.
Yeah, makes sense. So we're going to move on to our next segment, from nuggets to campaign gold. So can you tell us of any real life examples of successful campaigns that you've run using data?
Absolutely. I mean, so we kind of just touched on it a little bit, but with these kind of early indicators of people's activity, we're able to send very specific messages without creeping them out that let them know that we have resources they may not have thought about. And so, we take on the form of education and kind of articles and blogs or videos that explain like tools and resources that are available to them. And then it's an aha moment for a lot of our customers because they go, geez, I didn't really think about that. And now that they did, we become a resource back at top of mind for them. And so when people are out there shopping for new mortgages, when people are out there surfing the internet and looking at rates again and wondering what the current, if they should refinance right now or rates coming down. And, this year, as a great example, a lot of economists are predicting some rate cuts and some interest rates coming back down. So as people start to kind of poke around on websites that we're partnered with, we start to find out that, they're back, and let's send them some strategic information and really get their attention again. And that kind of stuff is gold for us. It just re-engages the customer at the time that they're focused on it and pulls them back into a great conversation and gives us a chance to serve their needs again.
Yeah, makes sense. Do you have any other creative ways? I know we talked about some of these data sources that we may not think of, but do you have other unique data types that you use or creative ways that you're using the data that other marketers may not be thinking of?
Yeah, so we partner with a great organization, this crazy guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, and he has really helped in a lot of ways share insight that has helped change our strategy and our creative leveraging data. And it's really by focusing on cohorts or specific groups of people and and what their needs are and what they're interested in and how they're navigating this environment we find ourselves in, which then allows us to take a new creative strategic approach to the content messaging we're making and deliver it to those cohorts specifically, leveraging the data and then the tools inside of like Meta or YouTube, and then getting the right message to the right people. And I think that's really every marketer's dream is how do I give this unique message to the right cohort? And let me give you an example, Catherine. So today, there's a lot of people who are potential first-time home buyers who are really disillusioned with the state of housing in America. They just watch rates skyrocket. There's a huge inventory problem in our country. The home prices feel absurd and difficult. And there's this I will never buy. I guess I'm just a renter for life, or I guess I can't buy.
Yeah, it's not attainable for them. Sure.
It feels unattainable. Absolutely. But then all of a sudden, what they don't understand is as the mortgage market continues to ebb and flow and new things come and go, one of the newest things right now, so an FHA loan, this is going to get super technical for 2 seconds, is designed typically to be a first-time home buyer product. It's a great product. It offers low down payment solutions, which is normally the barrier for first-time home buyers. And it's got I'll call it guidelines that are good for first-time home buyers. It's a great loan. Well, there's products today that allow you to get a first and a small second and literally have no down payment again. And so you can get into your first home with no down payment, which has been a huge barrier for a lot of people. And again, not to go back to 2008 and the crisis of mortgage, but these people are heavily underwritten. They're fully qualified and vetted. They just don't need to rent anymore. And so all of a sudden, a whole group of people who still believe the myth that I need 20% down gets a new message. No, you don't. And here's some solutions. And they go, holy crap, maybe I can actually buy something. Now, finding that house and deciding where to move and that's a whole new thing. But now at least they have some hope and they're exploring new things. And that's a great example of how creative content and the right data and the right strategy to find those people can turn into gold.
So taking this as more of an education piece, right? As opposed to just a hard sell, because if they, just saw the offer, they might not think it even applies to them. But if you take the time to educate them, then that's helped kind of win more people to you.
I think that's transitioning a little bit to the contemporary marketing side of the world. But I mean, aren't we all sick of just being sold?
Yeah, I think so, right?
Aren't we done? We're just so done with it. Come on. And that's why we don't want to go talk to salespeople anymore. And that's why we avoid them like the plague, and we want to text or email and keep them at arm's length, and we don't want it. So we found education and this kind of open palm, no gatekeeping strategy to be really impactful.
Yeah, I think it's valuable, right? It's the biggest decision of your life for most people. And you should have all the information in an easy format, right? It shouldn't be so difficult. So if you have extra offers or other things that you can compare apples to apples, I think it's so much more valuable. And I think
100%.
people don't like bad marketing, right? It's not marketing
Yes.
that we don't like, it's
Yes.
bad marketing. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Yeah. We love to be, people love to get information. They love to be marketed to. We love watching Super Bowl commercials. Like we love good
Right,
marketing.
right. Yeah. Or like Instagram. I mean, they always know what I want. Or I'll play the game. I think most people play the Instagram game, right? If they see an ad that they like, they'll click it to get more like that. So
Yep.
yeah, it's just bad marketing we're not into.
So good. So true.
Got it. All right. So now we have our last segment. We like to have a little fun here in what we call the
Yes.
gold rush round. So this is our speed round. 1, what's the most absurd myth about data-driven marketing that you've ever heard?
I don't know if it's a myth, but let me share this viewpoint on it. I feel like people don't take it seriously enough. I feel like people, I see this all the time. Somehow we believe our own wind so quickly that we're somehow such gurus and we've mastered it and we understand. And so we know the right thing. And sometimes data is showing you the exact opposite. And people are still in this like, nope, like I have wrote books on this and I'm the guru and we're going left. And it's like the modern consumer is just telling you no. And they're moving away from it. And I just think that it's just the myth that it doesn't matter or it's not taken seriously enough is a huge problem.
Yeah. All right. 2, what's one thing that keeps you up at night around your company's data and marketing abilities?
Well, I consider myself a high functioning person, a person with high functioning anxiety. And so I am constantly in this state of like, I'm not doing enough. We're not doing enough. Like, so I feel like that's my own cross to bear. But like, I'm always like, what am I missing? What did I not take into consideration? What other external feedback do I need that I'm just ignoring because I think I know everything? And so, I think it's this desire to just continue to be the best possible. And that's what keeps me up at night. It's just like, how do we continue to be great in these areas, whether it's content creation, data utilization, or the combination of it. And I think that's also a little bit of a superpower, is just always feeling like we're not doing enough, pushes me to kind of work harder.
Yeah, it keeps pushing you. Otherwise, you rest. Yeah,
Totally.
I get that. All right. Using only 5 words, do you have a piece of marketing advice or data advice for your younger self?
Can I give you 2 words?
Yeah, even better.
Or 3. 3. We'll do
Okay,
3.
okay.
Pay better attention.
I like
Just
it.
pay better attention, because we get so caught up in the insanity of our lives. And I got family and kids and dogs, and I'm an Uber driver for my kids to all their sports, and like, and then I get in the work world, and I have 7,000 things to accomplish, and we're running a million miles an hour, and it's like that pay better attention, that little pause and stop, I think can really help in all things.
So pay better attention to everything at all times. That doesn't help our anxiety from the last question.
No, not at all.
No. All right. What are some of your favorite places to stay on top of current data and marketing trends?
I hate to sound like so broad on this, but it's like the internet. Like I'm constantly watching, YouTube videos and podcasts and listening and, seeing what, I'm not a great reader these days, because I like to listen over read, but like pouring that into my brain at all times and allowing me to kind of filter it into my life is massively helpful. And I think that if you're not constantly getting exposed to new ideas or new thoughts or being challenged or hearing new perspectives, you get stuck. Again, you've heard my theme on this. You get stuck into thinking you know it all.
Yep.
Well, it's all changing around you.
You miss all that. Yeah.
Yes.
Next, what do you see as an important data innovation coming to marketers in the future?
We talked about AI.
Yep.
And I really think it's going to be the impact AI has as it matures, because the ability to start asking AI to help with decision making or collating of data or accessing and bringing in things and putting it into a useful format for decision making,
Yep.
I think is going to astound everybody. I really do. I think it's going to be this amazing moment in humanity's existence where all of a sudden you go, I want to know this, and it just goes out and hits data sources and pulls in amazing things that would have taken a team before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just believe that's going to transform everything.
And it's just right there at our fingertips. Yeah.
It's coming. It's like it's right here.
It's
like
right
pinch
here.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Well, this has been very fun and educational. I appreciate you for joining us, Alec. You know what we didn't talk about is where to follow you and where.
Great.
What would you like me to promo?
So I get asked this on several podcasts, and let me give you what I hope is a good answer that is helpful. Because when people ask, where should people hang out with you? My tongue-in-cheek response is Google. And the reason that's such a stupid response, but also I hope helpful, is because for everybody out there, if you're not showing up and dominating the front page of Google in your profession, or in your knowledge area, whatever it is, you're just missing out on the opportunity that could be potentially surrounding you if you just got yourself more visible. And so, I have websites and I have all my social channels and I have my podcasts and my YouTube stuff, but it's like Google. If you care anything at all, go to Google and you'll find 1,000 ways to hang out with me or listen to my craziness. And then maybe that'll inspire somebody else to be like, oh yeah, I should probably go do that too. So that my answer could be Google. And then they'll hopefully grow their business.
I love it. That's great. Again, thanks so much, Alec. We appreciate your time. It's been great to have you. Have a great day.
My pleasure, Catherine. Thanks.
This podcast is brought to you by Deluxe, a pioneering force in data-driven marketing, using intelligent data to build marketing campaigns that help you win more efficiently.